This is the beauty industry. Valued at a whopping $511 billion, has stood the test of time. The biggest player, L'Oreal, has a valuation of $260 billion and unfortunately has a very dark secret. Okay, I'm kidding. Maybe I'm stretching the truth a little bit there with the whole Hitler and L'Oreal thing, but maybe it's not that far off. The French megacorporation L'Oreal is linked to affairs, imprisonment, malevolence, multi-billion-dollar gifts, and yes, even a plot with Nazi Germany during Hitler's reign. But that's all over now, and we have nothing to worry about, right? Well, maybe not. The beauty industry is only growing, and investors couldn't be happier. In fact, one of my favorite personal brands, e.l.f. Cosmetics, is up over 60% in 6 months' time. Meanwhile, the entire economy is down over 10%. And you might be scratching your head and be like, why is that? Well, the fact of the matter is that consumers still want to spend money even though there's an economic downturn. In fact, most people actually end up spending a lot of their excess money during these times on things like energy drinks or coffee or cosmetics. Some people spend it on cigarettes, alcohol, or fast food, but it's really just a vice or a way to nullify all the things that might be happening around them. A way to shed off the sorrows of maybe not liking your job or not getting that pay raise that you wanted. Because at the end of the day, we've all been conditioned to think that the little things is what is important in life. When in fact, it's quite the opposite. Like the little thing of maybe not stepping in crap, or maybe just avoiding that person that you don't like at the office is actually much less exciting than being able to buy a home, for instance. Or even maybe having a kid if that's your style. But the little things can be a good distraction though. And I feel like there's only a few industries out there that excel in both good times and bad. And one of those industries happens to be the beauty industry. And who happens to be the biggest cosmetics company in all the world? Well, that's L'Oreal. And they've got some pretty big brands underneath them, like this, and all of these too. They currently market over 500 brands, and they continue to grow their business year in and year out with over 500 patents as well. And the lady who owned the biggest stake in the company became the richest woman in the world. But they've had a dark past that no one really knows about. For a little bit of context, this company is over 100 years old and was founded in 1909 by a pharmacist by the name of Eugene Schuler. He happened to also be the first person in the L'Oreal Group family to support fascism. At the time, he had provided financial support and even held meetings at the L'Oreal company headquarters for a group called the La Cougole, which was a very violent French fascist group at the time. The goal of this group was to essentially overthrow the government, and they performed plenty of hate crimes, ones that I unfortunately can't mention, otherwise I'd get demonetized, but all of which were bankrolled by L'Oreal. But don't worry, they don't do that anymore. At least I don't think they do. But maybe that's it, right? Maybe that was just kind of the times, and maybe this guy just had a screw loose in his head. Who knows? But unfortunately for L'Oreal, they actually had more dark history between now and then. You see, Eugene had a daughter named Lillian, her maiden name being Lillian Schuler, but then after she married became Lillian Bettencourt. That's me. And she was the heiress of the L'Oreal fortune. And at age 15, she was already working and apprenticing for her father. I mean, who doesn't like child labor in the 1930s, right? I love this, I can't stop it. Funny enough, she got married in the 1950s to a French politician who was a part of the same group that her father had been funding. La Cougole, the pro-Nazi fascist group that I mentioned earlier. Her father unfortunately died in 1957, and Lillian became the sole shareholder of the L'Oreal company. Then just a mere 6 years later, the company went public with the help of Andre Bettencourt, who also became a L'Oreal executive alongside Lillian. But only after he had to fend off against the media for his 60+ writings in a pro-Nazi Germany newspaper. Funny enough, later in his life, he also became the French Minister of Foreign Affairs. Kinda ironic, don't you think? Yeah, a pro-Nazi character handling foreign affairs. perfect.
I love Hitler.
But fortunately for the company, he didn't have as much say as Lillian. I mean, she was the daughter of the founder and the main shareholder of the company as well, even after selling a decent sized chunk to Nestle. But as she had children and aged into her later years, she did a great job of avoiding the public media. And of course, it's good that she did, because there's already plenty of whispers and rumors going around that it's probably good she stayed away. But there's quite a little bit of an interesting twist to her story, involving an affair with a man named Francois-Marie Beignet. They had originally met in 1987, where he was a photographer that was commissioned for a photo shoot for a French magazine. Not only were him and Lillian friends after that day, but also many years into the future. In fact, they were such good friends that she had sent him gifts valued of over 1.3 billion euros. Shouldn't we all find someone like that in our life?
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense.
He was even signed into her will and multiple life insurance policies. She gave him things like cash, paintings by Picasso, and so many more gifts. But then in 2007, after her husband had passed, Lillian's daughter had filed a complaint against Benoit, accusing him of exploitation of her mother, because at that point Lillian was starting to have psychological and physical weaknesses. At least that's what she claimed. By the way, her daughter is also named Francois. We're gonna call her Frances, so that way we don't get the two mixed up. Then after her filing that criminal complaint against Francois, the court had looked into it and pretty much just dragged their feet. But a lot of that was because Lillian actually had denied that she was having any problems at all the way to the point that she refused to be examined by doctors. But finally, justice did come, because later in 2015, Francois Beignet was convicted of abuse of weakness. And the prosecutor stated that he had imposed his control over Lillian like a spider spinning a web. The prosecutor also said that he dealt with her like he was a vampire. Ugh, pretty bad stuff. Now, his original sentencing was for 2.5 years in jail, but also 158 million euros that he had to pay to the family. Apparently, Lillian's financial advisor, attorney, and notary were also in cahoots about these crimes. But the crazy part was Francois Beignet actually only ended up serving 0 years in prison, and only going to prison if he commits a similar crime again. And that 158 million euros that he was supposed to pay went down to a mere 375,000 in damages to the family. And that part absolutely blew my mind, because he suckered the lady for 1.3 billion and ended up paying 375,000. Pretty nasty. But the new owner after Lillian's death is Frances, which is the daughter of Lillian, which after Lillian's death is now the richest person in the world. And this story kind of has a happy ending, because she then married a guy named Jean, who was the grandson of a rabbi who was murdered at Auschwitz, and they even raised their kids as Jewish. So this whole Nazi party company kind of became a more just corporation, which is really quite a reversal from where they came from. On top of all that, she's been quite a humanitarian as well. From starting the initiative at L'Oreal to attacking climate change, since her takeover, they've also lowered their waste as a company by lowering greenhouse gas emissions and water consumption by 50%. They also made a commitment to ensure that none of their products were linked to deforestation. And on top of all that, in the recent conflict with Ukraine, they also donated millions of dollars to the refugees of Ukraine during this conflict. And this company, over the 100-year span, has had lots of interesting bumps through their history, but it has definitely changed from where it started to where it is today. And I hope that they can continue increasing the positive impact on the world as they continue to grow into the future. I hope you guys enjoyed this brief history on L'Oreal, and it kind of paints a picture of how much crap a company can go through and still come out on top. Normally, I don't do a lot of videos like this, but if you do like this content, and if you like the amount of information that I dug up to get this to you guys, please make sure to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and let me know down in the comments if you like L'Oreal or if there's another company that you'd like to see a video on. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.